Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. This is a most unusual day. I started it out with the idea of doing this video fairly early, and as soon as I got up, minutes later, power goes out. Not just in our house, but I noticed it's throughout the neighborhood. And I check a map of power outages and find that a good quarter of the city that I live in was out. Turns out it was a squirrel that got caught in a substation and took out a major node. However, we didn't know how soon it was going to be fixed. They said, oh, we'll have it fixed by midday. And when midday came along and things were still dark, I thought, well, I need to do a video because we're going to go on vacation. I'm not going to have another video for another week or so, and we need to have something to just say why we're not doing it. So I did a video apologizing. And as soon as I got through with that, as soon as I got back into the big house, the power comes back. So that has been kind of it. And I mean, it was no easy task to get it done here because everything, of course, here is powered. I have just regular electric lights back here to light up the background. And my camera lights here are, they work on USB. So I was able to plug power packs into them and get them to work. And while my camera is battery powered, the computer I use to edit for is not. So I had to use my cell phone instead. So with all of that set up in order to do, and of course this microphone runs through a mixer that needs electricity. So I had a lavalier mic, and so it was all a setup to get all this stuff done. And so it's almost comical that just as I get all this done and the video finished, that the lights come back on. So now that the lights are back on, I can come out here and do it like I usually do with the Deep Space Nine episode called Family Business. Now, this was directed by Rene Auberjonois. Ira Steven Behr, one of the creators of the show, who also wrote this episode partially, wanted to make this a less comical view of the Ferengi. Now, we haven't had a whole lot of explanation of exactly what Quark's background is, Quark and Rom. Now, we know a little bit more about the Ferengi, that we've heard the rules of acquisition throughout the series, but we've never been to Ferenginar before. And this plot calls for Quark and Rom to go back to Ferenginar, back to their childhood home, and find out why their mother has suddenly started earning profit, which is against the law in the Ferengi alliance. And so it's up to Quark to take control of this, since he is the oldest son and the surviving male in the family, to get her to confess. Now, they introduce in here Ishkat, or Moogie, is a recurring character, although Andrea Martin will only play this once, and then another actress will take up, the late Andrea Martin, who just did a great job with this. And then another occasional character called Liquidator Brunt, of the FCA, the Ferengi Commerce Association. So that brings that. And we introduced Cassidy Yates. Now, that is Penny Johnson-Gerald, who was also the doctor on the Orville. This is the first time that she had been involved in the Trek-verse, and she'll be a recurring character as a new love interest for Sisko. And so they introduce her here, get along very well at the very beginning. So the fact that Jake was trying to put them together, which Sisko has been kind of concerned about, turns out that Jake is a much better judge of character than Sisko gave him credit for. A funny little thing in there is Dax says, if I were still Curzon, I would have taken her away from you. And he said, that's one of the reasons I'm glad you're not still Curzon. Anyway, Rene Auberjonois directed this. And while it was supposed to be a more serious look at the way a Ferengi family operates and Quark's difficulty with his mother. There's a lot of comedy in this throughout, and the timing of it is so good. Little bitty things. In one point where Quark is visiting the FCA offices, he is, and on Ferenginar, you pay for everything. If you want to go in an elevator, you pay 7 strips of platinum. If you want to sit in a chair, you've got to have 3 slips of platinum. If you want the receptionist to let someone know you're there, that's a slip of platinum right there. And they all have and enter someone's house, if you're not related to them, a slip of platinum goes into a receptacle as you walk in the house. So it says something about how the Ferengi operate. At any rate, what we find here is that when they are about to leave the FCA, Quark gives a tip to the receptionist, who then taps it against the tabletop, very much like a dealer would, a blackjack dealer would in Las Vegas, or actually any casino. And I thought that was an interesting little touch, and probably something ad-libbed by the actor there, and something that somebody might not have caught. Not that I do a lot of gambling, but I always found that kind of interesting. And what it's for is to show that they have been tipped to the people that have cameras on them. There are cameras all over casinos, as you know. But other little things, like, for instance, Quark's bar is closed down while Quark is gone, and O'Brien and Bashir are trying to break the lock to get in so they can get their dartboard. This is the Chief's lucky dartboard, and they got to get it out, and they're trying to jimmy the lock on it. And so it's Julian and the Chief and Odo. And it's just an interesting little take when Sisko catches them, and they all 3 look back like they've just been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, including Odo, which I thought was a very subtle thing, but just very rewarding to watch, I believe. Quark and Rom arrive at their mother's house. Quark has quite a peace of mind to give his mother, and they're in the middle of pretty much a fight, and Rom comes in between them and says, it's just like old times, having a family discussion over important events. And both Quark and the mother look to the camera and break the fourth wall. I thought that was just for a take. And that I found funny. None of the lines as much were as funny as all of that. I know that they tried to make things kind of strange, but the parts that were funny were the subtle things, and that's something that good comic actors can do, and there were a lot of them in this episode. Obviously, Rene Auberjonois has done comedy. You remember him in Benson, of course, and you would know that there were other people who were pretty well versed in that kind of thing, especially Andrea Martin, and of course Armin Shimmerman played a comic type of character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I digress. There is a good line in there where they're talking about Quark's late father, Keldar. Keldar was not the greatest businessman, and Rom observes that he went from one failure to the next. He couldn't hold on to latinum if you sewed it in his pants. I thought that was funny. And even there are certain things in there where we know that Nog is going to take the Starfleet exam, and Quark says to Rom, why would he want to do that? And Rom says, maybe he just wants a job with better hours. So a number of funny parts in an otherwise fairly intense episode. It doesn't have anything to do with the greater world. They say you have two kinds of stories. It's either big world or small world. This is a very small world. Not only do we get a look at Ferenginar, but we get to see what makes Quark Quark and why Rom is so different from him. It's not that Rom is stupid. It's because they have different temperaments, and one takes more after his father and the other takes more after his mother, and it's shown in sharp relief here. Now, everything turns out okay in the end, and a little twist at the end to show that Ferengis will be Ferengis. But that and very satisfying scenes between Ben Sisko and Cassidy Yates that shows the beginning of a beautiful courtship, which will turn into a marriage before long. So that's the episode, Family Business. I recommend it. Like I say, it's not going to be the big deal of the story arc, but it's a nice stop along the way and let us learn a little bit more about Ferengi society than we've ever seen before, and also a little bit more about Quark and his background. So if you will be so kind as to subscribe to this channel and click a like, would be nice as well. We'd appreciate that. So thank you for watching, and like I said, we'll be away on vacation for the next several days, so there will not be a movie review this week or any videos next week, but following that in the second week of October, we'll be back with some new material and some pictures from our vacation if you're at all interested in that kind of thing. So until then, thank you very much. Don't go.